Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David. Never in doubt today.
Never for a second. Never for a second, because it looked like Mikko Koskinen was channeling Ken Dryden there in this game. It was Koskinen's had a number of really good games. This is either his best game of the year or his second best game of the year. He was fantastic. He was absolutely fantastic this game. And he was the reason the Oilers won. There's really no other reason, because Florida was all over the Oilers team. The grade A shots were 22-8, Bruce. The so the grade A shots have about a 20% plus chance of going in. The 5 alarm shots were 14-6 for Florida. 5 alarm shots having a 33% chance of going in. So it's not often you're going to win a game when you just get peppered with the very best scoring chances. And Florida is a fantastic offensive hockey team. Seems like almost everybody on that team can handle the puck, including Mason Marchment. Here's a question for you, Bruce, before we start. If Ken Holland made a trade as bad as Mason Marchment for Dennis Malgin, who's now playing, I think, in the Swiss League, what would fans be saying about that?
I'd probably be saying it was a bad trade.
Indeed. How loud would the screeching be?
Where'd he come from? Point of game, Mason Marchment.
Toronto Maple Leafs. The genius, Kyle Dubas, made the trade. All right. Bruce, 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers. What is your good thing?
Yeah, well, I'll leave the number 1 star to you, and I'll take the number 2 star of a game that really had a 2-star performance from the Edmonton side, I would have to say. And Derek Ryan, age 35, coming up with his first career hat trick. How often does that happen, that a guy 35 and over has never had a hat trick and he gets one, right? Usually if you're 35 and good enough to get a hat trick, you've been there before a few times. But good on Derek Ryan. He went to the net hard and he popped a couple of goals in that style. And he also somehow zinged an outside wrister past Sergei Bobrovsky in the Florida net. And he had a pretty decent chance on for a fourth in the third period that had some guy hoping that he was up in for $100,000. Didn't quite work out, but he had he finally got some results, right? I mean, he only had 4 goals all year, and now he's got 7. And I mean, in a game where Edmonton got 4, he got 3. And he also went, David, 4 for 4 in the face-off dot, with all of those wins coming in Edmonton end of the ice. So he contributed in an area where the Oilers had their struggles today on the dot. And I'll talk more about that in a bit, but he was perfect in the face-off circle as well, and just I thought had a pretty strong overall game. Maybe was a bit late on the coverage on one goal that was kind of scored with Edmonton scrambling to recover, and he was kind of the 4th guy back on the play, and the first forward hadn't cleaned things up. But that was if he did make a mistake on that goal, it was lost in the and the several other guys who had made bigger ones. So anyways, overall, Derek Ryan's finest game as an Oiler and first career hat trick. What's not to like, and especially in a surprise upset win like this one.
Do they ever need that win, Bruce? I mean, they've lost to 2 good teams, and they were outplayed, I think, in both games, at least the Wild game. I can't remember what the scoring chances were in the Tampa game. I think that was actually that was a little closer.
Oilers were good, in the Tampa game. It was a goaltending loss.
Yeah, that was a tough result. So after a tough result, like where the goalie is culpable in the defeat in a significant way, great to get one where the goalie steals it. I mean, that is so huge for a hockey team, right? Just for the morale of the team, for the record of the team, you need your goalie to do this now and then. And so again, great for Mikko Koskinen. Bruce, there were so many great saves by Koskinen in this game that I can't remember them. So what I'm going to do is just read my comment that I've written already in his game. highlights because I think that captured the very best of them, and there was probably 7 or 8 of the very just absolutely best of them. So here's my comment. He stood as tall as Paul Bunyan in the net. Massive save off Vetrano 2 minutes in, then thwarted Barkov and Marchment on dangerous crossing jams after Nurse's positional error. He had little chance on Florida's first goal, a whip-smart slot pass and quick strike finish by Lundell. Huge save with the score tied 1-1 on Hornqvist, where Koskinen shot out all 75 meters of his right pad. He failed to cover a loose puck off the goal. I like that line too. He failed to cover a loose puck off the goalpost on Florida's second goal. But what are D-men for if not to prevent loose puck shots? And I think Lagesson might have done better on that.
Yes.
Huge poke check on Barkov on his second period breakaway. Another huge save off a Barkov one-timer a bit later. Then again off Marchment on a 3-on-1. He flashed his blocker to stop Vetrano early in the third. Monster glove save on Verhaeghe's third period breakaway. A final highlight was him slamming it shut on Barkov with 4 minutes left. He had little chance on Barkov's final goal, a cross seam one-timer. So that was his game, and it was just, I mean, my goodness, what a great game.
I take it he's your good thing then?
He is my good thing, Bruce. He did let in 3 goals, so I couldn't give him 10 out of 10. So I gave him a 9.
That's fair.
And,
outstanding is a good description of that. That performance.
Maybe
second goal.
Well, the second goal was off the post and it lands behind him.
Right.
So really, no. I think the last goal, maybe if he had been totally in sync, totally, if he had been perfect, he stops. So if he had stopped the last goal, maybe then it's can you give a goalie a 10 if he lets in a couple goals? I think maybe you can, but I don't think we've ever done it. I think we've always given 10s on a shutout.
Well, and we don't always give a 10 on a shutout. We've only ever given 10s on a shutout.
Correct. Yeah, if not a lot
very often. Ben Scrivens got that 11 at one time. John Willis gave him an 11, and we agreed. That was the 59 save shutout against San Jose. That was completely off the charts, so we gave him an off the charts mark. But he was outstanding in this game, Koskinen. And even that last goal, Barkov scored from the same spot that Koskinen had just robbed him from about 25 seconds before, where he came all the way over and snaked the glove out and pulled a shot off the goal line. This time his glove was in the air because he was telling the referee that he'd been beamed with the shot. And the referees apparently saw no evil, heard no evil, noticed no evil when the goalie's saying, "Hey, my mask is loose." And the pass went over. So his glove actually wasn't in position because of that, or he even might have stopped that one the way he was playing there. He was pretty upset after that goal, and not without reason. But anyway, all's well that ends well.
Yeah.
The team finally did some good shot prevention in the final 3 minutes after opened floodgates. Holy moly! How many breakaways? How many odd man rushes? There's at least 3 or 4 breakaways.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there were. Bruce, that was like a 40-year performance by Koskinen, and by that, all us old Oiler fans feel 40 years younger. I feel like I'm 19 and can now go drink my face off and not have a hangover the next day. That's how good that performance was.
That was a Grant Fuhr special, 3 goals against and 40 odd saves, and was. He had a game against Calgary there, the one where Dave Tippett's job was on the line. Koskinen made 44 saves against Calgary in a I think it was a 5-3 Edmonton win, and it was a similar performance where he was really holding the fort, and he was doing it on his own for a chunk of time.
Yeah, 47 shots in that game, 44 saves, and Calgary in that game had 20 grade A shots, and he let in the 3 goals. So this is a similar performance to that one. And there's been a few other really good ones that he's had. He had a really good game against Seattle, for instance, that I'm noticing here. Bruce, what's your bad thing?
Well, I'm going to have to go with the injury to Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Talk about something the Edmonton Oilers did not need. They finally have a third line that can hold its own and then some. In a new structure with the Centers 3 model, and Nugent's been playing pretty darn well too. And then today, fairly early in the first period, he took a fairly innocuous looking hit along the side wall, and he kind of spun when he hit the boards. And whatever it was that he hit, it was deemed an upper body injury, serious enough that he never took his next shift, and they announced already by the end of the first period that he was done for the night. So all Oilers fans can do is hope and wish that he is not going to be out for very long, because he's a pretty important player in the scheme of things right now.
I didn't like the look of that at all, Bruce. I think it's his shoulder. It looked like his shoulders got crunched, and I'm thinking, yeah, something with the shoulder, which is not good, right? Like, because it could be small, but it could be, separated shoulder or something even worse than that, like a bad shoulder injury. So, all right, my bad thing. He's taking a beating, no doubt, on Twitter. I haven't been on Twitter, but I'm sure this is happening. Evan Bouchard really, really struggled on defense tonight. And we tagged him, I think, with 5 major mistakes on grade A shots against at even strength. And it really, I'm just checking. I want to check. Did he get out of there? They didn't even use him on the PK. Like, they've taken him.
Right.
They've taken him off that role, which I think is probably a good idea. So early on, there's, that we've commented on this before, the Matador defense, where he waved his red cape as Anton Lundell, who's a hell of a hockey player and a great draft pick, taken just before the Oilers were able to grab Dylan Holloway.
Right.
There was questions about Lundell's offensive game and how that would translate to the NHL, but man, he's a solid hockey player. He goes around Bouchard, who's waved at him and said goodbye, bye-bye, and Florida almost scores. There was on the goal, the first Lundell's goal, he got beat on Vetrano's pass, which was a pretty tricky play. And I actually thought that Shore was worse on that goal. He didn't cover the man going to the net off the wall. And that was a bigger, that's a tough play. And both Shore and Niemelainen made turnovers before then as well. But it just continued for him. He got beat on a pass when Hornqvist almost scored in the first. Makes a turnover, and it leads to a 3-on-1 in the second. That Mason Marchment also scored, but Koskinen stopped that. That was a kind of a neutral zone pass, I think, he got picked off in the neutral zone off his stick, and they went in on a 3-on-1.
Was that the one in the last minute?
No, it was in the second.
Got to that yet.
It was in the then in the third.
Oh, okay. The last minute of the second, protecting a 1-goal lead, and he tried to stick handle around the guy in the center zone at less than a determined pace, and it got stripped and they went in. I was yelling at my TV at that moment.
Yeah.
And then the Oilers came down and scored 10 seconds after Koskinen made the save. That was the TSN turning point in this game.
Yeah. Okay, that was that
like
the one?
50 some seconds to go in the second period.
Yeah, okay. I think that's one where I think I wrote it down in the game grades, but I forgot to move it. I forgot to write it in the scoring document.
I added
and then
it in
you added
there.
it in. That's why I'm a little flummoxed on the timing of it. But that's exactly what happened. That was the one when Mason Marchment almost scores. So yes, that's definitely that was definitely a 5-alarm shot. And then in the third period, McDavid makes a back pass to him, which is not strong enough, and Bouchard goes for it, and then he's sprawled on the ice. And then there's another break. So just he's having his Justin Schultz moments out there, Bruce, and he's getting the Justin Schultz treat. He's starting to get the Justin Schultz treatment from Oilers fans. I would tell Oilers fans to get your heads out of your asses and give this young player a break. He's obviously got talent. Yes, he's making mistakes. They've scaled back his ice time. He has played strong defense before. These are mistakes that he will get on top of, I think. Or conversely, like Justin Schultz, the good will outweigh the bad. Over time, he will make more good offensive plays than he gives up in his own end. So, we can decide as a group to run him out of town, like I think happened to Justin Schultz, and I think was unfortunate, a bad idea. And people can continue to get irate about this guy's play. or you can have a little bit of patience with him and the coaches, and just think he will help this team win in the end. He can help this team win a Stanley Cup in the end, just as Justin Schultz did in Pittsburgh. But if you lose your minds constantly, it's not going to happen. You will run them out of town. It has happened. So that's my thought on that.
He played 12-21 in this game, and it seems like in the new regime with the 7 defensemen, he has quickly descended into the ranks of the young defensemen, where all 4 of them are seeing limited minutes. It looks like Broberg has dropped to the sort of the true
Seventh
number
spot.
7.
He had 7
But
just
the other guys, like Bouchard, was playing lots of 20-minute games earlier in the year, and now he's 12, Niemelainen 14, Lagesson 11 from today's game. And he had a few soft plays, and I just didn't think his passing and puck control was on. Like he himself just wasn't on in this game. And the one breakaway there in the third period where McDavid, I mean, that was a horrible play by McDavid. I don't know what he was thinking. 10 minutes left, 2-goal lead, and he makes a drop pass high in the offensive zone, and he just hung the guy out to dry. And that was
well, he thought he was a
not
little
good.
close. He thought Bouchard was a little
Yeah,
closer, or that he
yeah.
passed it a little harder. Coming, it's Connor
Yeah.
McDavid, right?
Yeah. Well, he's Connor McDavid, but with a 2-goal lead and 10 minutes left in the third
Yeah,
period,
fair enough,
you
Bruce.
make the, you make the play. If you're down 4-2 and you're desperate to try and make stuff happen, then, you know, you take chances like that. Anyway, I was not too excited by that play, and Bouchard was the number 2 object of my wrath, and that particular one. But thankfully, Koskinen came up with an absolutely fantastic glove save on the breakaway. That one goes in, and those last 10 minutes are an eternity.
Was that on
So
the
instead, it was
Verhaeghe?
only
Was
the
that
last four
Carter
minutes for an
Verhaeghe?
eternity. What's that?
Who got
That
that
was
breakaway? Was
Verhaeghe. That was Verhaeghe. Yeah.
Verhaeghe the Phage.
Yeah.
Uh, he's a good hockey player. Lots of good hockey players on that team. It was interesting, Bruce, how they pulled the goalie so early. And I know that they
Mhm.
have
They
a
had a
really
history.
strong analytics department in Florida. And one of the things the analytics people say is, I think what they say is like when you get 5 minutes left and you're down 2 goals, you
Mhm.
think about pulling the goalie then. Much easier or much earlier than is
Mhm.
commonly thought. I can assure you, when you, as a minor hockey league coach, when you try that, everybody loses their minds. They're so upset that you've done something like that. But it also works now and then. Like, and I think the odds really are in your favor. So I kudos for Florida for listening to their analytics guys, and they, it almost paid off in coming back in this game. What's
Mhm.
your number, Bruce?
Yeah, my number in this game is 36, and that is the number of face-offs that took place in Edmonton's end of the ice. There were 65 face-offs in this game, and there would have been 10 of them at center ice because 3 to start a period and 1 after each of the 7 goals. So of the other 55 face-offs, 36 of them were in Edmonton territory. And this was a combination of Koskinen freezing the puck a lot because a lot of pucks were shot at him, and he's fairly conservative about freezing the puck, and also Edmonton icing the puck a lot, which they did 5 times in the first 10 minutes of the game and 5 times in the last 10 minutes of the game, including 4 times in a row in the last 3 minutes. They kept pumping, not getting their draw weight right, and not quite hitting the empty net at the far end, and a couple times losing their cool. Evander Kane, he had a chance to. The defenseman stumbled and coughed up the puck, and Kane had every chance to step out, probably get to center and take a crack at it, and at least not ice it. And Zach Hyman overskated one, and he blindly fired it down the ice for an icing, and the puck just kept coming back into Edmonton territory with the clock not running because they kept icing it. So in the end of the day, they had 36 faceoffs in their own end. They won almost half of them, 17 of the 36. I think 14 of 28 at even strength, 3 of 8 on the penalty kill. And like I say, Derek Ryan was 4 for 4, and otherwise it was a battle, and not a winning one from Edmonton's perspective. Florida generated quite a few of their vast number of shots directly off of face-off wins. When the puck, I mean, they got the 1 goal that way, right? Won the puck right in the slot, bang, hit Koskinen in the head, and they scored on the follow-up. Uh, and so anyway, that was tells me more even about the territorial play in some ways than the shots 47-22. Say that, Florida had the pressure on Edmonton for large, long portions of this game. And this was a very much winning against the flow of play kind of game for Edmonton.
Indeed. So Mikko Koskinen, Bruce, my number revolves around him and his save percentage on grade A shots tonight. He stopped 19 out of 22 grade A shots. So he had an 864 save percentage on grade A shots tonight. And I can tell you, Bruce, that is his second highest grade A shot save percentage of the season. He had an 882 grade A shot save percentage in a game against Seattle in early December when they fired 17 and he just let in 2 of them. So it was his, by that metric, it was his second best performance of the season.
That'd be Pittsburgh.
And what are you thinking? Pittsburgh?
I'm thinking that was the Pittsburgh game.
No, he had an 833 save percentage on. Excuse me,
December
that was in
1st?
early November. I said.
Oh, okay.
Early November. My mistake. That's why I was confused. It was Pittsburgh. He had an 833 grade A shot percentage. So he's in about let's say about 12 of his 29 games. It looks like I'm just roughing just about a dozen. He's been over 800. On average, Bruce, he stops 3 out of 4 grade A shots. He has a 755 grade A shots save percentage on the season, 755. And opposing teams have a 773 grade A shots percentage. So the opposing teams have a significant margin in terms of their goalies stopping grade A shots compared to the Oilers. But Koskinen was way, way ahead of his season average today. He was on fire, and it's reflected in that number 864. I find the grade A shots save percentage is often mirrored, maybe not on a game per game basis, but over the year, it's mirrored by your actual save percentage. So there's usually not a lot of difference. Like if his goalie's got a good save percentage, that he will also have a really good grade A shots percentage. Like there's not a lot of variance there. So this is why I personally put a lot of just basic raw shots percentage I've seen over time, generally speaking, aligns with their save percentage on grade A shots. But as we dig into this more and we start to chart 5 alarm shots as we're doing now, maybe we'll find out something a little bit different than that. And I'm not yet don't have that kind of granular detail. We're just starting to track it now, so I can't report on that. But this was, statistically out of this world performance. Either his best performance of the season or his second or third best. So.
Yeah, he was real good. I can think of 3 or 4 games. I mean, there was a game in St. Louis where there's won 5-4 in a last minute game winner by Yamamoto. And that doesn't sound like a goalie kind of game, but Koskinen was fantastic in that game. That was would have been November. There was that big win against Calgary.
19 grade A shots in the St. Louis game, 4 goals against. So he had a 789 grade A shot percentage, which is pretty good, right? Like his season average.
A lot of them were 5 alarm saves.
That's what we have to.
He made a lot of great saves in that game.
Yeah. What other game are you wondering about? The Calgary game?
Oh, well, the Calgary game.
850 grade A shots save percentage. He 20 grade A shots, 3 goals. Any others?
Those are the ones that spring to mind for sure.
He had a really good game against Vancouver late in October. Looks like a really good game against Anaheim in mid-October. In fact, you'll find a lot of really good Koskinen games in October. Like he was regularly above 800 save percentage on grade A shots at that time, and then he crashed. He absolutely crashed. And Bobrovsky tonight on his grade A shots was only 500. So he had 8 grade A shots and he let in 4 goals, which is fantastic, right? Like
we'll take that.
We don't often experience the other goalie coming up with a stinker. And I think Bobrovsky didn't play well tonight. He let his team down.
Well, one of those goals was a grade B shot even.
It was, yeah. And I call them all just for, I call all the goals grade A's just for,
right.
I haven't yet got it down to that level of
So he stopped 5 grade A shots, but he let in a grade B. So overall, he
correct.
was like
Yeah,
four out
yeah,
of 8. That's
yeah.
not good enough, and
That is not good enough.
he cost his team. You're right.
Good, like you say. Very good. Well, Bruce, let's wrap it up there. I got to finish
Okay.
off with my game grades, and you got some
Okay.
stuff to do, and
You
we'll
bet.
be back here tomorrow. Bruce,
Yeah.
thanks for talking tonight,
All right. Thanks
today.
for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.